Welcome. So this will be my first attempt at a devlog. I won't have much to show in this episode, partly because this development was recently started and partly because the game we are working on will be mostly focused on programming and systems rather than graphical fidelity. The more visual aspects will be coming further down the line, but in the start this devlog series will be more game design oriented. So if this is something that interests you, I hope you will get something out of this series. The project itself is currently going under a code name which is WHU. More on that in future episodes. I want to preface with that I will still continue to make tutorials on this channel. This will just be a different form of teaching essentially. I hope that by documenting the progress of our project in this form I can accomplish a few things. The first and most obvious one is of course to show you the progress of one of the projects that I am working on, which you can of course give feedback on, provide thoughts, suggestions or ask questions about. The second is that it can provide some insight to a few different things. What it is like to work with a team, what kind of problems we encounter, how we decide to tackle those problems, how we reason behind the decisions that we make. In a sense, I guess this will work as a path through game design to guide our progress. So what is this project all about and who are we? The team that is working on this consists of 3 people with varying backgrounds and varying amounts of disposable time for the project. We all have experience with programming, so that will be the core of the project. Next would be to talk a bit about the game that we're making. Now, this actually started off as a combination of trying to learn something new, which I will talk a little bit about later, as well as an experiment to do a game consisting of many different systems working together. We wanted to create a grand resource management game with strategy elements. We have been discussing internally how to best approach creating such a game, with many different systems interacting with each other and keep it both scalable and maintainable. We want to be able to have an easy time to sort of slot in new modules of functionality if we come up with a great piece of functionality or system to add. So, coming back to the topic of learning new things. We wanted to try 2 new things for the very first time in this project. The first thing was test-driven development. What this means in short is we imagine or discuss some feature that we want to have. We then create some test functionality for this as our first step. After this is done, we code our feature to work with that test we just created. Some benefits from this approach is that you start to imagine how you want to execute code at once and will then conform your code to accommodate for that. Another very nice benefit of this is as you proceed to get more and more tests, if you change your code and something breaks, you will quickly be able to see what is broken and can then proceed to rectify this. This is really good in our case because we wanted to consistently rewrite our code to conform to our new needs. We wanted to not get stuck thinking too long before coding, so by starting to code you can quickly get something in place and then we will continue to change and refine that code as we expand upon the functionality. So our tests will both allow us to get quick feedback on changes that break things, which gives a sense of security for us about changing functionality, as well as removing the need to manually perform tests as much. The second thing we wanted to learn was to test out something called Unreal Engine Angel Script. It is a scripting language developed and used by the Swedish gaming studio Hazelight, whom has made games such as It Takes Two, A Way Out and Brothers. We wanted to learn to use this because we felt it would be a good match for our test-driven development. The reason being that it allows us to have changes be instantly applied without compiling using a feature called hot reload. This together with our tests gives us instant feedback on the state of our development. The code is similar to C++, so it can be seen as a stepping stone towards that end in coding if you're currently just doing blueprints but you want to move towards doing more written code. If you're interested in AngelScript, you can find it here. I will provide links in the description below. There's an easy step-by-step guide of how you can get started with it. You can download binaries for a compiled version, or you can compile it yourself. The documentation should cover all of this in fairly great detail. Lastly, we will be using Visual Studio Code as our software to write code in, which is sort of a lightweight Visual Studio, which should work well for us with the choices of AngelScript and test-driven development. So there we have it. A small glimpse into things to come. Hopefully you found this interesting and want to follow us along on this journey. Until next time, keep on learning. Take care.